I were Monty right now, I bet I would be slick as a whip in oil, dripping in oil. Probably shave the beard off. Just have a twisted on the end mustache. Only going by Monte Carlo from this point on.
Monte Carlo, yeah. Monty's in somewhere. Who knows where Monty is? He's like, where's Waldo right now?
Yeah, Monty's
in the Keys.
In the Keys, yeah. I think
running dope,
getting into nonsense. He is now Monte Carlo.
Yeah,
he's shaved the beard. Just has a greased up mustache, filthy mustache.
Wearing the Speedo.
Yeah, Speedo only. Shirt optional. Shoes never.
That's right. That's how I'm gonna.
He gets kicked out of McDonald's immediately.
Yeah, yeah. Poor Monty. What a loser.
What an idiot.
What an idiot down the Keys. Yeah, he's not here tonight because he's taking a well-deserved vacation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a busy and trying time, so it's his turn for the getaway.
That's right. Because, like he said, when they get back, their busy season. They're really hard workers.
It's the same sort of rush for tax people too.
Yeah,
accountants and
rich people got stuff to do this time of year.
Yeah,
I'm pretty free.
There's always Breckenridge.
That's right, Breckenridge, Key West.
You can go to Breckenridge and break a rib.
I haven't heard from Monty in a couple of days.
I'm telling you, he's on a speedboat with 3 engines right now.
I did see a snap or something with them on a boat, and I was like, well,
yeah,
good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
I hope the beard comes back with him, but
I mean, it's not even been a month since I've been home, but I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I'm overworked and I'm tired and I'm jealous.
Yeah.
It should be me.
I'd love to go down there. I know. I'm thinking I'm going to go out west though again.
What are you thinking?
I think I'm going to fly into Fresno and go to Yosemite. I'd love to go sit on the beach. It's like, maybe I'll do both. I don't know.
You going to climb a mountain?
No. Well, I mean, I'll do some hiking for sure, but I've never been to Yosemite. When I was living in California, I never went to Yosemite, and that's
what state's that in?
California.
California.
Mm-hmm.
What's in Montana? Is there
Yellowstone?
Yellowstone. Okay.
Yeah. And I went there last year. I guess it was last year. All the years are running together now.
They really are. Talking about 2019 as if it just happened, but it was 3 years ago at this point. 3 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And COVID is the time between now and that year.
It's like the COVID years. It's like,
imagine graduating high school, going into college or something, like as COVID was hitting, and being like, "Man, I'm gonna run a party train through my freshman year, baby. It's time to be a college person."
Oh, I can't imagine being
not
in high school or college right now with all this.
I would easily demand a refund.
And they're not, and they're doing all their classes online, and I'm sure it's the same price.
I'm sure it's equal in quality. It's got to be.
Well, we're missing Monty. He's not here, but we're here.
Yeah,
we're here,
and we'll talk shit about him. It's cool. Yeah. He knows we love him.
Yeah, and he would us too.
Yeah,
for sure.
We gotta get him when he can't defend himself.
I'm pretty sure wherever he is, he's talked shit about both of us at least once today.
Oh yeah. You know that piece of shit has.
Just
kidding, Monty. Much love.
Yeah, he is one of he's in my circle. Like I said before, who are in your circle? Cole's in my circle. Monty's in my circle. And there's a few others that are in my circle of people that, like
people you take into battle.
People you take into battle with. Got friends. I got great friends, but you can only, how many people you think that you have in your life that it's like, man,
if we don't count family and spouse, because they're the obvious ones.
Spouse,
it's a given on like it's parents and spouse. It's a given. So not counting that, I would say about 4 people.
4 people.
5 maybe.
I think that's I think 4 or 5. I think that's I don't, if you have more, that's great, but man, it's hard to have that many. That's a lot of people that that when shit goes down in your life, that they're going to be there for you. They have your back, and you know what I mean? They're there. They're going to go to battle for you. And then you have to, how do you pick those people? And they come and go for sure.
Yeah.
I
didn't pick any of them. That's the cool thing about it. Yeah.
You don't pick them.
How do you attract them? I guess.
But a person can come into your life and like, you're like, am I going to, are you in my inner circle, or you're in my, am I going to let you, because if you're not in my inner circle, you're not going to know a lot about my life. Me personally, because I'm kind of private a little bit, about personal issues and stuff like that. So, if they come in, it's like, what's the criteria for like open? You gotta let your wall down. You know just about everything about me, and Monty knows just about everything about me. And where do you trust a person enough to? What's the criteria to trust a person enough to let them into that?
And even you saying that, how long have we known each other from the brew house? But it really wasn't until just the last year or so that me and you actually got close. And you said maybe similar for Monty. I mean, I met Monty. I've known Monty about a year period. I knew you longer than a year.
Right.
But the paths finally crossed enough, sniffed each other's butts enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, you kind of had to.
It's weird because you can know somebody for 20 years and they're not in that circle of are you going to go to battle for me, or are you going to be there when shit gets bad or shit gets good? So what's the criteria for that? Is it loyalty, trust, ethics? I don't know. It might be different for everybody, but I was like, who am I going to let in my life? Because who you let in your life is very important, because that's kind of that's the path you're going to take. And you let shitty people in your life, you're probably going to live a shitty life. You got to let quality people in your life, but you have to let people in that are warriors for you, are going to support you. Monty always said, and he said it to me, like, me, we're kind of neighbors, and like you said, we didn't like know each other on that scale for a while, but we, started, getting closer and closer. And he said to me one day, if your friends aren't happy for you when you're succeeding, if they're not clapping for you, he said, you better take a good look at who you got around you, because they might not be your friends. They might be your friends, but they're not, they're your friend, but they're not in your circle. They're not in your circle.
They don't have your back.
Right.
They might say they do at 2 a.m.
Right.
But yeah. And I've had to learn that lesson.
I mean, Benny's in my circle. Yeah. I call Benny any time of the day.
I could see that.
And that dude's going to answer the phone, but he'd do that for anybody, but I know.
Benny.
I mean, that dude he's definitely in my circle. And of course he's loyal, he's trustworthy. Somebody, like, if you tell something to somebody in confidence, I don't have to worry about it with Benny. I don't have to worry about it with you and Monty. And I think a lot of people need to take a look at their circle, and it's like, if you're having trouble in life, maybe that's one place you could start. It's like, take a look at your circle. Who you hanging around? Who do you trust with your life? And I'm not sure what's the criteria? I mean, for people, it's like, for sure, loyalty, trust, grit, for sure. Grit for me.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit of oomph, a little bit of work ethic, a little bit of hustle whenever it's needed.
Well, you can look at people and you can tell a difference between people that have been through some shit and people who haven't been through some shit. And you can almost see it in their eyes. You can, I don't know, you could take somebody that's been in the trenches, in life and come out the other side a better person, successful, and they have a lot of knowledge. They have a lot of, I don't know, wisdom. It's like you can almost see it in their eyes. It's like they've been through some stuff. And that's the kind of people I always want to talk to. It's like, man, what you been through? I mean, and I don't know. That's one of the things, grit.
Well, you said that Monty said. That's perfect. If you're doing good and they're not clapping for you,
there's something wrong.
You need to recheck your hypotenuses.
And you shouldn't really care about probably outside of 15 people in your life. But who cares what the rest of the world thinks? If you're succeeding and you're grinding and you're trying, you shouldn't care, because that's what a lot of people give up before they, get where they want to be, is because they're worried about what they're worried about what Facebook thinks about them or their friends that don't matter.
Yeah,
they don't matter. These people don't matter. I mean,
there's a list of people that hit the button like, and I've had a conversation with 4 of them.
Yeah, you run into them wherever, in Walmart or whatever, like once a month or once a year, and you're worried about what the fuck they think about you? No.
Julie from the bread aisle, I don't give a shit what you think.
No, you shouldn't care. I mean,
I don't know a Julie.
I know a couple and they're fine.
I don't think I know a single Julie.
Not one?
I don't think so. I felt like a safe name to throw out there and talk shit to.
Yeah. But you shouldn't care about if you got a goal, and like if you're like a life chasing goal or whatever, man, don't let these people in their opinions get you down, because it's easy these days to like, oh, they think this about, who cares what they think?
I've got friends.
Who cares?
I've got friends that, used to be in my circle, and at the time, if I'd have asked myself, do they clap for my success? The answer would have been no, but I didn't realize that was kind of the situation. And these are people I don't talk to as much, but I'm still friends with them, have a lot of history with them, but I don't expect, I'm never going to expect a congrats, dude, happy for you, proud. I'm never going to expect that from them. I think I would just, my soul leave my body if I ever heard a few of these people take a moment to like step outside their own ego and say, man, you're out there busting it. Yeah. Fucking good for you.
Yeah. And it don't make them bad people, because I don't know what half of the people I know are doing, but I'm happy for them if they're, I try to.
It's nothing personal.
That's what I'm saying.
It's just a reflection of the status, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
That's where we're at as men at this point.
That's why I say don't care, because most people have their own life going on, and most people are worried about what other people thinking, and they're not even thinking about you. You know what I mean? Do your thing and roll on with it. But
grow a thick mustache.
That's right. Just let that thing grow. Just let it grow. Don't care if your friends ain't clapping about your mustache, then they're not your friends.
And if you're not clapping your friends because of the mustache. Oh, wait, my bad. Oh, sorry. I blacked out for a second.
That's right. I mean, most people don't even know I have a mustache. It don't matter. Don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. But pick your circle, but pick wisely.
Mm-hmm.
Pick wisely, because, you got to make sure everybody's rolling. You're in a boat. You better make sure everybody's in there on the same channel.
There are a lot of people that do. They get, and I was one of them. They get bent out of shape by the lack of outreach or the lack of reciprocation, maybe. Mm-hmm. And these are maybe this little conversation just now is something people like that need to hear. And if you're listening to this and that kind of resonates, then maybe that means you got someone or some people in your life you need to assess. Are you benefiting? Or do you need to maybe take a step back and recalculate and do what you need to do? And kind of once you find yourself somewhere in the darkness and pull yourself, hey, come this way, get into the light a little bit, find yourself, see kind of a new dawn, and then that kind of gets you to a spot where you're ready for what awaits you out in the light,
right?
In this better place that you're meant to be.
You know, that old thing is like, I don't know what that quote is. I'm not good at remembering quotes exactly, but you know, you hang around 5 millionaires, and that's all you hang around with. There's a pretty good chance you're going to be the sixth.
Yeah.
You know, but if you hang around 5 trash bags, pretty good chance you're going to be the sixth. What we said last time is like, take the trash out, man. If somebody's in your life and they're not good for your life and you're not making good decisions because of them, you have to take the trash out.
Yeah.
And it's nothing, it is personal.
We did say that, didn't we?
It is personal. You know, it should be personal for your life.
For you, it should be, yeah.
For sure. Just
their lack of meeting an expectation maybe you have of them is not particularly personal, but it is definitely your personal responsibility, and you owe it to yourself to recalibrate sometimes.
Absolutely. But when you find that circle, you gotta. I mean, you're in it together.
Yeah,
I mean,
and when you find them, you hang on to them. You take care of them, and they'll take care of you.
You go to battle with them. I mean,
you start a podcast with them.
You start businesses with them, and you roll with it. I mean, but when your circle is, I mean, there's good days and bad days, and if somebody's in your circle's having a bad day, and you got to be there for them.
Yep.
You're having a good day, boy. You clap. You clap.
Yep.
Celebrate together.
Yeah.
And then you got Monty that won't even show up for a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty freaking selfish of him, really, if you think about it.
Drinking, what do they drink down in Key West anyways?
He's probably just drinking coconut juice and sand.
Coconut, what do they drink? What's that girly drink? I don't even know any girly drink.
Well, he's been down there long enough. They've probably just rebranded it, call it Monte Carlo juice.
Monte Carlo juice. Oh, we're going to get a lashing. Well, we got that out of the way. You got anything you want? What have you been up to?
Let's see. Well, last time we were here, yeah, well, I just got back from the trip, and then since then I went into the cave at work. So I've been at work for like 10 out of the last 12 days as of today. So not much new, just a lot of time to sit and think and work and think and
grinder.
Sleep during the day, be awake all night.
I remember those days.
But I'm freshly free on long break with a renewed sense of, freedom.
Freedom.
Feels good.
My boy got paroled.
Yeah, that's right. Chase, last night had me and Brian check out this new documentary.
Well, it's not new.
Or new to us, but it's a documentary called The Dawn Wall.
If you're not weird like me, and of course I'm the single one out of the group, so I got like a hammock in my living room, like a straight up bachelor pad
next to the hamper.
Yeah, and I mean, well, you just got you gotta live it, man. So I put a hammock in my living room, and it's the best idea. Everybody needs a hammock.
It really doesn't sound like a bad idea at all.
It's not. So I watch weird documentaries. I'm like, I watch regular shows when people recommend them, but man, a good documentary is like crack open a beer, eat some food, lay in a hammock, watch
cuddle the dogs,
talk to the cat. But some outdoor documentaries that's up my alley. Or I've watched some of those, true crime documentaries too. But the Dawn Wall, I watched it a few years ago it was on Netflix, and of course I love watching like Alex Honnold and some of the other ones climb big rock walls, because I don't do it. I've rappelled and hiked, and I guess nothing like that. I think it's amazing to think, like a 3,000 foot and just start up at the top. I think it's a crazy thing to do, and it's amazing to watch in the world we live in now, with the cameras and stuff like that, and that they can document that stuff, and you're like watching them, and you can see their fingers, and you can see the struggle in their face. And it's
so what is the Dawn Wall about? I don't think we've said what it is yet.
Yeah, Dawn Wall documentary, and it's not on Netflix anymore. You can find it on Amazon or whatever. But the Dawn Wall is in it's part of El Capitan, which is in Yosemite, which is in the National Forest or the National Park in California, and it's a 3,000 foot wall of granite that at some point back in the 50s or 60s that crazy hippies are like, oh, we're going to climb some walls, and they climbed Half Dome and this and that, and they started climbing El Capitan, and I've never seen it. Hope to see it soon, but they say it's just massive when you come around the corner, and there it is, and just a granite wall, and people would start climbing it. And this documentary is about a guy, and his name's Tommy Caldwell, and he is the first person to free climb the Dawn Wall, which is on El Capitan. Dawn Wall is when the sun comes up on El Capitan. That's the first light, is the dawn light hits that wall, and
it's really hard, tall.
It's just
face.
It's like if you go over there to your table or whatever, or it's a granite wall, and they say it's so smooth that you can't find any places to hold on to it. Well, he's the first one to free climb it, which is without, I guess, pretty much drilling a hole in the wall and making a ladder and climbing your way to the top.
Yeah. I mean, they do, basically it's like you're climbing it, and the minimum you're doing is basically putting in safeguards so when you slip, you can at least retry from they bust them into, so the path up the mountain, any mountain, what do they call them? Those little plots, or what do they call them? Pitches. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I assume what I gathered was, because I'm like a noob, so if you are approaching, you're like 5 pitches up, each pitch is basically like a chunk that is like significant enough to kind of like just have its own characteristics, and whenever you get to like the next little chunk, the next piece would be the next pitch. So
there might be like 20 pitches.
Yeah.
Like you go up to here, and then that's that pitch.
So what I gather is as they continue across pitch by pitch, they are nailing in some like safety
yes,
places to hook to. And so,
well, like if you think about it like this, you're halfway up the Dawn Wall,
mm-hmm.
and you got your portaledge or whatever. That's the thing they kind of sleep in. They got their gear in, and they pull all that up with them as they go up. But so you go from here to there. So you're anchored here. So you're trying to get to there. Well, from here to there, you're anchored here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you fall almost over here,
it brings you all the way back.
It brings you all the way back.
So pitch by pitch, you like restart. You like kind of bring the base with you every so often. And along the way, they don't show it, but are they like...
I don't know if there's... Yeah, I think they are.
Obviously, they're not preset if he's being the first one to do the path.
I'm sure up the other routes that have been there since the 60s, there's plenty of screws and stuff, but the Dawn Wall was bare.
So probably unpictured in that documentary was them basically kind of like breaking ground and getting... So it's like a checkpoint. Yeah. So we might get into it specifically, but like he was so this Tommy guy, he was doing it with a guy, and it got to the point where he kind of passed him a little bit, and they would go back and let him try, and then they go up. So basically they're kind of getting it to where they can, I assume, rope their way to it quickly, don't have to do it freestyle after you do it one time. Yeah,
they both had to do it. Of course, Tommy was of course, he's like up there with like the Jordans of
Mm-hmm.
rock climbing on big walls. But Tommy would climb, get the pitch, and then he'd come back.
And coming back, is that just a matter of swinging over?
Yeah, probably just.
Yeah, like there's.
Yeah.
It seems like they streamline it. It's just there's always that first climb.
But they both have to get the pitch to progress up the mountain. So Tommy could get this pitch, and then Kevin would get that pitch. So then they would go back and load their gear up and kind of move up the mountain. Now, in that documentary, you know, Tommy was moving up the mountain faster, and then Kevin was having trouble with one pitch.
So whenever Tommy passed him and was going all the way up to like that ledge, and before they turned around to go back and get Kevin up, Kevin was with him at the bottom. So like Kevin physically passed where he was stuck at, and like helped Tommy, and then they went back to help. So while Tommy was, you know, at some point once it was established that he did physically climb it freestyle without like a ladder, and he
didn't skip a spot. They just kind of
made it, but it was somehow set up after that so that Kevin could bypass it to at least help Tommy keep going on his path, and then it was all established enough where then they could just go back down to help Kevin.
Sure, because when Tommy was going up, he was. I
was kind of learning the rules as I was watching it.
Yeah, as long as you're tied off to the pitch below you or the person, you know, you have to make that pitch. And Tommy was climbing up, and he finally come back down and helped Kevin, and waited for Kevin to make that one pitch, and then they progressed up the wall. So Tommy
has a story.
Tommy has a life-chasing story. And I bought his book, I don't know, years ago. And Tommy Caldwell, if you can look him up, I'm not going to read all of this book tonight because it is.
Bet you won't.
I bet you I won't. Because it's called The Push, A Climber's Journey of Endurance, Risk, and Going Beyond the Limits. And it is about 400 pages long, and it is a pretty good book. And of course,
like I got some pages folded there.
Yeah, like I just said, he was the first person to free climb the Don Wall. And I just want to try to give you some backstory, because there's one story in this book and that documentary that is amazing, and it's beyond him climbing the Don Wall. He's got a pretty unique story. And the beginning of his life is, you know, just, I don't know. It's like I've always said, a lot of times, whatever you're going through life is kind of preparing you for whatever you're going through in life. Like from the very beginning, everybody's got struggles, and I think Tommy is like the prime example of someone, if you can, of course, it's documented in the book and in the documentaries, like, dude went through some stuff at an early age, and he's one of the best rock climbers in the world. But like, I'm just going to read a few things out of this book and try to give you a little story leading up to the story I want to tell about Tommy. And this is I'm just going to kind of paraphrase and read a little bit. Like, I barely drew my first breath. My mother, Terry, very nearly died while delivering me into this world. It is true, as some say, that as you start, how you finish. Then my exit is also going to be fought and scratching and clawing and with near misses. That's okay. Life is all about risk and reward. Better to have struggle, to have tried, and then to not seize an opportunity at all, than to struggle is how you start and is probably how you'll finish. Now, I think he was born a preemie a little bit, or he had some health problems. Of course, like he said, his mother almost died, you know, in childbirth. And so that's how he started his life, you know. And I don't know, I thought that's the first thing. I was like, well, I'm sure a lot of people can however you start in life, I don't know. A lot of people don't even know how they started in life, but we all start pretty much the same way. But
I started with a collapsed lung.
who did?
Me.
Really?
Yeah, still got the scar.
Well, see, I mean, I don't think I think I was a healthy big boy.
Must be nice.
But that's how he started out in life, and I'm going to skip forward to, he had his dad was a kind of a bodybuilder, and didn't have the perfect childhood.
He was ripped. The picture of him in that documentary, he was ripped.
He was a ripped dude, but he took steroids and stuff, and probably didn't know a lot about, I don't think he was a very bad parent, but it wasn't a perfect, just perfect. His dad was a bodybuilder. His mom, I don't know. He didn't have the perfect childhood, but he had a good childhood. So here he is, like in adolescence. When I entered junior wrestling league at the age of 5, I could run further and do more push-ups and pull-ups than any other kids, even the coaches. Toughness mattered more than technique at that age. In the first match of my first tournament, as I walked into the mat, my miniature blue uniform slapped. He was pretty scrawny, anyways, and my hair gear was too big. If you can get that in your head. Yeah, I mean, I think he was a little dude, but he was pretty tough. Then the whistle blew. I swooped in for a quick takedown, got the other kid into a half Nelson. I pinned him within 20 seconds. The official slapped the mat, and my stunned opponent stood up, and we shook hands. Then I saw tears running down his face. A lump formed in my stomach. I felt terrible. For the rest of the wrestling season, anytime my opponent started crying, which was pretty much always in Pee Wee wrestling, I'd let him win. I imagine those losses frustrated my father, but he knew what was going on. He had to be worried that if I was soft heart, this world might be hard on me. I'd also think about my mother that knew why I'd lose, and that my gesture gave her a deep satisfaction. So that kind of gives you if you can get that in your mind, that he was in junior wrestling. I don't know what age that is, but he had a kind of a yin and yang kind of personality. And he was letting people win when they didn't have to win. He was obviously,
that's not in the documentary.
No. And like I said, you read this book, you watch the documentary, there's so much in this book that I went through it and just tried to pick out what I thought was, there's so much more that I could pick out. But I thought that was I think his dad was pretty, like I said, he was a bodybuilder and stuff like that, and an outdoorsman too. And
he climbed a little bit.
Climbed too. And like, he's out there letting people win. And I'm sure his dad's like, nah, you could have won that. But like it says, I'm sure his mother was glad her son had a heart, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So he goes through climbing, and they go on trips, and his dad had a big, fascination with climbing. And let's skip here. His dad, yeah. At some point, his dad. You were talking about that other documentary about climbing that you watched, and the I guess the godfathers of the Yosemite Valley were like Warren Harding and Royal Robbins. They were the first one. Like, Warren Harding was like the one that would go up with wine, and
as I say, one of them partied and one of them was very serious.
Very serious. And there was 2 different camps at that time. There was like the partying camp, you imagine, with drinking and drugs, and they were pretty liberal on their climbing styles. They just want to get to the top no matter what. And then Royal Robbins was the more conservative type. of climbing that said there are rules to this. And okay, so I remember being fascinated by, I guess he met Warren Harding when his dad took him somewhere and Warren Harding was giving a speech or something. And I remember my fascination with Warren Harding eyes, bloodshot, wild, the kind of eyes that held secrets. They had lived through some perilous adventures and remained stuck wide open in surprise and delight. Between his eyes, a beet red nose traversed his wrinkled face. And I remember that. And that he looked old. I don't know how old he was in that documentary. Warren Harding. He looked old.
Yeah.
And he was very, he could have been like 30. But
yeah,
Harding started the evening with a relative sober and with his standard storytelling fare. He told scandalous tales of womanizing, drinking, recruiting young climbers who did not know any better and dragging them up El Capitan for a week on end. Could you imagine? And rock climbing, this is Warring, rock climbing is a fine kind of madness, he always claimed. Despite his gruff mannerisms, he had a genuine nature. He was a hero to us all. His stories had me wide-eyed and grinning. I remember looking around the room and seeing my father beaming and nodding his head. Later, I became fully engaged in the sport of rock climbing. I read and heard more about the bearded man's history. In 1958, Harding became the first person to climb El Capitan. So there you go, 1958, Harding became the first person. His belief and his will and his spirit got him there as much as his strength, and his ascent elevated rock climbing to another dimension. Back then, El Cap was considered impossible. It was too sheer, too smooth, too big. Another pioneer of Harding's era and his chief rival, which we talked about, was Royal Robbins. In the early days, you noticed Cap, this is Royal, but we didn't pay much attention to it because of the kind of out of the question kind of thing. We didn't even consider climbing it. It was too much of a unimaginable leap. See? So that was in 1958. They were trying to, nobody was even like, I guess they were just staring at it, climbing other stuff. It's like, nah, and that's kind of like somebody's got to climb it.
Yeah.
They kind of paved the way for Tommy. And if you ever watch that other documentary that we can't remember the name to, but, they went up it. One of them went up it, and I think Waring went up it and pretty much spent a month up there drinking and hammering and drilling, and then it kind of pissed Royal off how he was climbing it, and Royal go up and knock all his things off.
I think he did.
Yeah. It was a wild time. All right, see where we are now. So you kind of get a feel of where Tommy is coming from. It climbing kind of was taught into him in his blood. And let's see. All right, I'd adopted my dad's hard work mantra, become in pursuit of fitness and skill. In the summer of 1996, I trained for 5 days a week. And I drew certain of the rest of, he pretty much just trained all the time. It was just me, the walls, and my will. Every day I exerted and dodged effort until my body simply fell. I never quit. I drove my body until it was unable to respond to the commands of my brain. So I thought that was unique. He was pushing his body until everybody says, tell your brain to your control your brain, and your brain will control your body. Pretty much, and he was at an early age just going balls to the wall with climbing. Just jump in here anytime if you got.
No, I'm just listening. Story time. I watched the documentary's fresh in my brain, so I kind of know what the rest of his story is. There's like some pretty big stuff in the documentary that really the book's not so far we've not really touched on yet.
Yeah, I'm skipping all around this book.
Yeah, but I mean, even talking about the documentary, are you about to read anything having to do with Kyrgyzstan or? Okay,
I'm getting there. That's where we're leading to.
Okay.
Yeah, at some point in 1996, he asked his dad, "Do you think I can free climb El Cap?" So that's the first time in this book, or must be where he considered, even the thought must have crossed his mind to free climb El Cap at some whatever route. He didn't say Dawn Wall, but and it says, to a non-climber, the question probably sounds like a shot out of nowhere, but to a rock climber with a pause and inspired by El Cap, to free climb it would be like flying to the moon. So his dad just, said that's an interesting idea. His dad was probably like, I'm glad I'm glad you got innovation. I'm glad you want to do something, but that's probably not going to happen. So he's going through some stuff, and what really, I think I marked it. I hope it's in here. His dad took him. I thought I marked it. I can't find it. Let's go ahead and tell you. He was obviously he had something that most people didn't have. He was a great climber, and his dad kind of saw it in him, and they went to this kind of exhibition in Colorado. It was like it wasn't a natural wall. It was one of those man-made walls, and it was televised. They were taping it, and his dad took him, and they didn't know, but it was, those rock walls you climb at, maybe a fair or some kind of festival, and they got the little rock wall that's like 15, 20 foot tall. Well, this one was like 4 stories, and it was very wide, and the one on the documentary. Yeah. And so his dad and then went, and they didn't know that you can sign up like amateur the day before. Mm-hmm. So he was a very good climber. He was kind of modest about it sounded like, but so he signed up for a competition the day before. The pros were going to go the day after, like the big names, they came to see. So his dad talked him into signing up the day before to climb, and he ended up winning that amateur event, like pretty easily. Like he just climbed to the top, yeah. And well, when he won that, he got entered into the next day competition automatically, which is like one of those things in life. It's like they wouldn't have showed up for that, or if they wouldn't have done this, and he was just at the right place, the right time with the right skill set. And so he got entered into the pro event the next day, and I'm pretty sure he won it, or he did win it.
And it said like there was a ledge. What is it when the wall goes up and then it comes out?
Yeah, like the shit that I don't like.
Yeah. And so he said he was the only one that even got past that. None of the pros even got past that.
So he won that to kind of put him on the map that nobody knew this 16-year-old. And he was there. That kind of like, I'm sure he got on magazines after. I mean, that's when his name became something. Before that, it was just like recreational. Maybe he wanted to go pro at some time and make a living at it. But after that, it was, recorded, televised, and he beat the pros, and he won the amateur thing before that. So that kind of put him on. Yeah, that kind of put him on the thing to set the course for his climbing career. Let me see here. So he met a girl. So he's kind of on the scene. he's kind of on the scene, and now he's going to be able to climb, kind of for professionally or getting sponsors and stuff. When he meets a girl like most guys do, and he kind of falls in love. And her name was I'm probably going to butcher her name, but her name was Beth Roden, and it says here in his book, it says, my sudden attraction to Beth had been a surprise. The girls who have caught my attention have been more of the grungy Birkenstocks, ratty hair, girls who could swear and laugh and drink and drove busted out cars. She was one of those girls next door, suburban types. She smelled nice and had smooth blonde hair, small, thin. She couldn't have weighed 90 pounds soaking wet. It definitely wasn't a case of love at first sight. I'd bumped into her in Europe. So he's already been to Europe, I guess, climbing trips. He bumped into her in Europe when Chris and I were hitchhiking around. She was there on a climbing competition, traveling with her parents, and I remember thinking how different our lives were. In many ways, I looked down on her perfect groomed existence. He was probably dirt bagging around Europe, and she was, probably in the Patagonia get up and all this, but he was probably dirt bagging, around Europe and probably not taking showers.
Teabagging.
Maybe. I don't think he was teabagging. She learned to climb in a gym and did the competition circuit. She barely climbed outside and rarely talked to others. But over the years, our paths crossed again a few times. I learned that she was a straight A student and lived Pancake Flat, Davis, California. So that's when she met Beth. He kind of got, interested in Beth. They kind of crossed paths there, and looks like they were kind of a different, living different lives. Both climbers. She climbed inside. I think he climbed mostly outside, out in the world. And she was a competition inside climber, which isn't uncommon. And so he's got a attraction to Beth. So they end up. Here we go. I guess I think we're there.
Busted out, dude.
Yeah.
Bussin'. Respectfully.
Yeah. So this is the part of the Tommy Caldwell story that I think kind of put the grit in him for sure. There was a thing after that too that definitely injected him to do what he did on the Dawn Wall. But this right here is a life-changing story for anybody. And it's like one of those things. Well, if you're in the military, this probably wasn't be a big deal, but all right. So they ended up becoming friends and kind of are together dating, him and Beth, and they get a climbing expedition to, let's see, I wish I could know this,
Kyrgyzstan, right?
Kyrgyzstan.
Let me see it again.
Yeah. Kyrgyzstan.
I think it's Kyrgyzstan from what I remember.
There's going to be some in here
Kyrgyzstan
that I am going to butcher. Kyrgyzstan. We're just going to say Crick. Okay.
Okay, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. God bless Joe Rogan.
Fucking bigot.
Oh me. All right. So they're in Kyrgyzstan on this climbing trip. There's 4 of them.
They're buying bait at a cricket stand.
I think they're getting bait. I don't know. But they actually got this is in 2000, I believe. So it's before 9/11. But they went to the embassy and did all this. But there was a alert out for this area of the world that, it could be kind of dicey to be hanging out in.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that in the documentary.
And they kind of said, well, this is a lot of people go climbing here, never have any trouble. So they just kind of went.
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. I mean, back before 9/11, a lot of people, yeah, you know, so they went. So they're kind of in love. They're kind of
just a couple of kids that liked it. Oh, trying to make it honest.
Yeah, they are. They're just, you know,
to quote Reading Crashers,
young, and they're, you know, out living the best life, really doing what they love out in nature. So Beth pulled out I think that Beth pulled. I don't know why I circled this, but Beth pulled out a packet of instant chocolate pudding, plopped in a candle in it, and lit the flame. Whew, fucking intense. It was the first night on the wall. So they're on a wall. They're on a wall in a foreign country, and it was my 22nd birthday. There you go.
Crispy.
For a moment, the universe was reduced to a flame and a space eliminated. I blew out the candle, and our worlds broadened to the sky around us. Billions of stars, unpolluted by all that we had left behind. Even at night, I felt small, utterly insignificant, and completely content. The most spectacular peaks on the earth were around us. So they were on the wall, and the stars twinkled. We talked and laughed, fell asleep with a smile on my face.
Dun, dun, dun.
Tommy, you dog.
You idiot.
Gosh, dang, Tom. So they're on the wall. All right, and they said, we slept soundly, unaware of the torture and murder that, I mean, he just had 22nd birthday. You know, his girlfriend.
Pre 9/11.
Yeah, pulled out a pumpkin, a pudding, and put a candle in.
Okay. I guess that's what that candle meant.
Yeah.
I didn't miss, I caught,
and
missed that part.
It was his birthday, and they're on the wall, and the stars. Lord, you know what I mean?
He's asking, what'd you get me?
Yeah. So they go to sleep, and we slept soundly, unaware of the torture and murder that was happening in the valleys. Just days earlier, heavily armed militants from an Islamic movement of Uzbekistan.
Nailed it.
Yeah. And they call them the IMU. Had slipped across the 15,000 foot mountain passes from Kyrgyzstan border, and pretty much they crossed the border without anybody knowing, over the mountains. So this is they were affiliated with the Taliban, I think, back then. So they had no idea this was going on. They were just on a climbing trip, and the Taliban IMU had declared jihad against the how do you say that, Kyrgyzstan government, and it's fully well documented that the human rights abuses, including ruthless repression of Muslims, and a letter for the alleged aiding of the Uzbek regime. The IMU was intent on creating Islamic caliphate in that region. So, knowing where we are now today, we think, what? You think, well, when I hear the word caliphate or the word,
what's caliphate mean?
It's like making their own state.
Okay.
They're making their own jihad to make their own state. So we think of that, and we're like, I'm getting out.
Yeah.
They didn't know that was going on. So they're on the side of a mountain.
So what's it leading to? Well, he's given this context. Now we know.
This is in August of 2000, and so they're up there sleeping, and had some pudding the night before, and
some little wax in the pudding. It's fine.
And so pretty much he says a piercing echo jolted my eyes open. The noise was so distinct to anything but a gunshot. I'd been in a deep sleep, a bliss, previous week, still coloring in my perception. We would why would anybody be firing a weapon? Now, they had, you wake up, you're out there, you think about being out in the woods, and why would it?
He's still in the afterglow.
Yeah, they're out there, climbing. And it's like, well, I heard gunshots. Why would anybody be firing gunshots? And that's a valid. It's like, well, they lost a bag before all this when they flew in. They're still waiting for a bag, one of their hiking bags or climbing bags that never showed up. A second shot sounded. A bullet ricocheted off a small rock group just above, rock and gravel off the portal edge. So they're on the side of the mountain, like you said, on these portal edges, and obviously somebody's shooting and it's hitting the wall. Beth sat bolt upright and pulled herself close to the rock wall. Her chest heaved in and out in short, labored breath. What the hell was that? Singer, which is another guy with him, barked. We're being shot at, she said. Her eyes darted from place to place. Fear rattled through me unlike anything I had experienced. Different from rock fall exposure, lightning, whatever, all this stuff in nature. We sat for a moment, unsure what to do, before ceasing our looking down our over the edge. For below the slope at the base of the wall stood three figures. Dickie, which is the other guy on this trip, peered through the telephoto lens. They've got guns. They're signaling us to come down, he said, his voice as a matter of fact. So they talk it over. The four of them on the wall. Somebody's shooting at them. They're waving them to come down. And Dickie, the first one to show courage. I'm the oldest, he said, continuing calmly. And I looked at it. I think Dickie was like 10 years older than the rest of them. I'll go down and offer him a cigarette. That's how the world was before 9/11. It's like, I'll just go down and give him some money or a cigarette, and that's probably all they want. So he grabbed one of our two-way radios, and he rappelled down the 1,000-foot base wall, and he radioed back up a few minutes later and said, oh, yeah, these guys just want some breakfast with us at our camp. You guys need to come down, please. And Tommy kind of said they could hear it through the radio that something in his voice wasn't right. So they got down, all of them, eventually off the wall. And, of course, it wasn't good. These were the militants that crossed the border. And to my surprise, the rebels shook our hands pleasantly and escorted us back to our base camp without force. I immediately noticed at our slash tents, they didn't even bother to unzip our doors. Gear and food was scattered all around. Another man, the fourth rebel, so there's four rebels, was hunched over vomiting. He apparently had a bad reaction to our food. So, and Dickie said not too long after that, the oldest, he said, we're hostages. So they're hostages now in a foreign country.
Damn, cook better.
Cook better. I mean, I don't know what they were eating. Pudding.
So
if you can, that's where we're at now.
Everything we've just gone over. This dude, he started off, expectations were on him from the papa, be an athlete, gravitated towards climbing, ended up being very good at climbing, met his sweetheart through climbing, go on an epic climbing trip, end up being taken hostage by basically Taliban militants.
Yeah, you think of ISIS or they wasn't. It sounds like they were like the amateur.
And we haven't said it yet, but the documentary and everything, he basically climbs the hardest face wall of El Capitan Mountain in Yosemite, and it's like it is unheard of doing that. And sort of this is like his backstory. On top of that, are you getting to the finger? Or
no.
So after this, this kind of propels him. If you watch the documentary, to like national, they get. Are you gonna? I don't want to like spoil if you're gonna read another thing about how they got through it all.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're hostages now, but it's not like there was actually a guard that they met, or a military guy that when the town they came through, when they were looking for their bag, when they got to the bottom and got to their camp, and it was just slashed open. They had all their gear strung out, and Abdul, whoever the military guy that they met in town, he was sitting there and pretty much knew he was going to die, and so I don't know if you can get in your head, kind of for somebody that's been overseas into different countries and stuff, and that's not a good place to be hostage in a foreign country, or hostage anywhere, but especially by Westerners, from some people who want to start a caliphate in this country. So they're hostages, but they're not really treating them terribly as you would think today. Like ISIS, I remember when I was in Iraq, when the insurgents and the Taliban and stuff would just, hate to say it, cut your head off if they caught you, or didn't matter if you were a military personnel or a journalist. These guys kind of like knew they come into this country and they got some hostages, and they're going to keep the hostages. But at that time, the military knew what was going on, and they kind of knew that these people were missing, Tommy and them. So the military's coming, So these guys start taking their hostages and moving towards the mountains,
mm-hmm.
and they're going to try to run. And so, highlighted here that they're on the run. The militants, Tommy and them, are with them. The military's coming up behind them, and they're exchanging fire, and the captors are trying to keep the hostages kind of from getting killed, because that's what's probably going to keep them alive, they maybe think. And so they're in a firefight, and the fire intensifies. Both sides trying harder to kill, and trying to kill in the day's late light. What seemed to be hours passed in minutes as the sun dropped, and Abdul, that's kind of the leader of their. I think Abdul is the leader of the people who took them, and the other three rebels laid down their guns and rolled out their mats. I highlighted this for a reason. I was like, so they're in the middle of a firefight, or right after, and Abdul and them, a certain time of the day, the sun went down, and Abdul and other laid down their mats, laid down their guns, and rolled out their mats, and other rocket propelled grenade exploded nearby in the hillside, and the four of them turned towards Mecca, knelt, and began to pray. So, I mean, if you get that in your head, it's a firefight, and there's explosions, and these extremists said, "No, we got to pray." So they just like exploding, and you think of Tommy and them sitting there, and like they just start rolling out their mats, and I'm thinking, when they start praying, I'm going to take them out, but they didn't. So they're just kind of there. They're just kind of like, what in the world? Of course, they're not military. They're climbers, and
took their mats out and doubled over and threw up some breakfast.
It's like, what? I mean, so we were hostages, but in a way so were our captors, hunted by the military. We bolted through the night. I shadowed best. So they're moving at night and they're sleeping in the day. The frantic pace and the terror overwhelmed us, leaving us at once numb, shocked, and pulsing through the surreal existence. At sunrise, we hid. To keep us weak, Abdul split us into two groups. He took Beth and Dickie and sent Singer and me and Sue. Sue is one of the people holding them. And they When we knew what was happening, Beth and I turned to each other. We're going to be okay, she said. Just do as they ask. And he said, I will. Promise me nothing stupid, okay? And he said, I'll see you soon. So they're in the day they're hiding during the day, and they split them up. There's 4 of them, and they split them up, and Tommy and Beth get split up, and that'd be torture. Think if you and your wife got captured and they, I don't know. So our suffering warped time. So okay, so for the next 14 hours while the sun shined outside, Singer, Sue, and I stuffed in a damp hole, pulling reeds, branches, other heads to cover. 30 feet from the midst of the fast-moving river, the tiny space soon filled with sour smell of wet foliage and our collective breath, a sharp contrast to the high alpine air. Our clothes were soaked with moisture, adding to the teeth-chattering chill. Our suffering warped time. Almost a day had passed since our last sip of water or a bite of food. My tongue scraped the roof of my mouth. Yet all seemed minor compared to my worry of Beth. So that's the torture he's going through, or they're going through. They haven't drank, they haven't ate. So they're moving. I mean, daytime, sleeping, they're hiding them. They're all hiding. The military's trying to find them. And he's sitting there in a hole, worried about his, the love of his life is with this other captor over somewhere. And he's just sitting there. Said, I questioned myself and God. I needed something to hang on to, some glimmer of hope. I mouthed or said silent prayers. I needed to believe that we were being watched after, that this was our destiny. I thought of my mother. She always believed that she possessed a psychic sense for when suffering of the people she loved. I sat in a hole and wondered if she knew that I was in trouble. That's a pretty he's going through some stuff, don't you think?
I'd say so.
Don't you think it's pretty rough, So they kind of move around and keep doing that, and every now and then they can see the army, but they never catch them. So Dickie and Singer start coming up. I'm going to kind of skip forward. They kind of start coming up with this plan when they get some time to speak freely. It's like, we got to do something. We got to take them out. We got to kill them or something. So this is happening over, when they're moving. It's like, those, and then Beth was kind of like, no, we're not those people. And so they're still moving, and those two are like, and Tommy's kind of like staying out of it. And like, I don't know, Beth don't want, but I think it's Singer kind of, I don't know if he told them, but he kind of comes up with his own little deal in this plan. He starts trying to win the trust of the captors. Like, they cross a river one time and they figure out that the captors are scared they can't swim. Well, Singer goes out there and actually helps them make like a bridge out of a log. And one of the captors so scared, the captors actually hands the rifle to Singer, and Singer helps him across the river and has the rifle. When they get back across, Singer hands him the rifle again. And I remember in the book, I think Tommy was like kind of upset about that. I was like, why didn't you, do something? Why didn't? And Singer's like, he had a plan. He was winning the trust of the captors, but he wanted to kill them, but he was winning the trust and finding the right time. You didn't
need trust when you had the damn rifle in your hand.
That's what I was thinking. But they're not military. Who knows?
Yeah. All right. So gaining the trust.
Gaining the trust. The army's still in pursuit. They haven't ate. They're getting weak. But Tommy, everybody's starting to look pretty weary. Well, their captors are kind of starving too at this point. They don't have food too or water, so they say, okay, they're down to two. I think two of the captors end up leaving and never come back. I think they get captured by the army, so they're down to 2 against 4, and they still haven't done anything. And so, and then they come down to 1 and 4. He said, well, one of the captures, I'm going to get food, and I'll meet you at the top of the mountain. Well, Tommy kind of explains starvation at this point. It's been like a week they're going through this. Starvation is a funny thing. You feel it first in your stomach, a nauseating pain, low in your gut. Your breathing continues and labored, and your body slows. Your face turns solemn. Any movement seems to be a bother to you. Your mind is the next to go. Indifference takes over. Emotions dull. But after several days, the pain in my stomach went away. I still don't know what happened or where it came from, but everyone else grew weaker and I grew stronger. I noticed my night vision was improving. Lines became crisp. By the time the sun had set on the 6th day, so it's the 6th day, I was aware of every sound, every movement. I felt lightness, and as I could race straight uphill without my heart rate rising. The others stumbled every few feet. Delusional or not, I saw myself as a warrior again. With my confidence came acceptance. Singer was smart, but I was stronger. Singer could be a commander. I was a soldier. Clarity overtook me. My love for Beth transcended my need for her. I willed my heart to be hardened. On our 6th night, our captors hatched a plan. They too were starving. Here we go. And cold.
Here we go.
So Abdul would shit. Damn it. Abdul would return to the base camp.
Fucking Abdul.
The son of a bitch. I mean, Abdul would return to the base camp and scavenge any remaining food and warmer clothes. The rest of us would ascend a 2,000-foot mountain in a mixture of fields and nearly vertical cliff bands. To us, at least, in our natural normal states and in this easy terrain, it was good for them. But Abdul, after gathering more rations, would come. Abdul was planning on coming back to and they left them with alone with, I guess it's Sue. S-U, Sue.
The boy named Sue.
Sue. Okay. Here we go. So one of them leaves and they're going up this mountain, and it sounds like it's pretty rough terrain. Maybe not for the climbers, but they haven't eaten and drank. But so they got one captor, and he's not very good at climbing, obviously. The moon. This is Tommy. The moon plays tricks on the darkness, casting shadows that dance across the cliffs. A jumbled mess of stone disappears below. Blackness. Far in the distance, stars illuminate the jagged spaces of the snow-covered mountains. Sue's feet skid, and he lets out a panicked grunt. I watch Singer guide him, pointing his footholds and handholds solid enough to grab. The plan had been for Beth and me to stay above, out of the fall line. We climb higher. Sue wobbles again, and I hear clacker rocks falling down the drop off. Now. Silently, I'm urging them to do it so that Tommy can kind of is thinking, push him off, do something now. Silently, I'm urging them to do it, willing them to do it. Dickie and Singer resume their guiding of their captor. More spots pass, and Sue, exposed and insecure. I try not to think about anything about what is I'm wishing them to do. As a top near, Sue gains confidence and scrambles ahead, using his hands to keep his balance. And as he climbs over the loose rock, at more difficult section, just 50 feet from the top, but 20 feet from our right, he slows. Singer and Dickey are still below. I glance down. Our eyes meet. They nod. So they're like, it's on you, Bubba. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I look at Beth. And Tommy says, I'm going to have to do this. I whispered. This has to be me. She trembles. Shadows cross her face. Her lips open slightly, but no sound escape. For a moment, we stare at one another. She dips her head. I know. The strength has been growing into a monster inside of me. Like I said, he said he's been getting stronger as everybody else has been getting weaker. The strength has been growing like a monster inside me, emerging from nowhere, from everywhere, unlike anything I've known. I accelerate across the series of footholds with the swiftness of a mountain goat, staying silent through the shadows. 15, 10, 5 feet away. Still Sue doesn't see me coming. The barrel of his rifle glistens under the stars. I see outline of the mole on his upper lip. My foot dislodges a loose rock. He turns sharply towards me. Our eyes lock. I lunge for the strap of the gun slung over his shoulder. I pull it as hard, and as I pull, I push his shoulder. His body arches backwards through the darkness, outlined by the moon. He cries out in surprise and fear. His body lands on a ledge and in a sickening thud, and then bounces downward to oblivion. For a moment, I hear nothing. The vertigo takes me. I think the sun is rising. Glimmers of light blur into long streaks, somehow real and surreal at the same time. Suddenly, as if a stone had crashed down on my head, every muscle in my body contracts and I squeeze my eyes shut as hard as I can. I scramble and sprint, remaining distant to the top of the mountain, where I stand alone, panting. I drop to the ground and I tuck myself into a tight ball as possible. I rock back and forth, sobbing. Everything I've felt inside of me floods out. So that's Tommy's account when he pushed the last captor over the cliff to pretty much free them in the middle of the night. And I mean, you got a couple quotes from here. You know, I think he was pretty upset after that. Of course, think you kill a man, and you know, and Singer said you did what, you know, Singer and them come up the mountain and you did what had to be done, you know, and then I felt warmth. Beth knelt beside me, tucking back between her knees and wrapping her arms around my shoulders. You saved our lives. And Tommy said, how could you love me? I'm a terrible person. She said, you are my hero. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one story of Tommy Caldwell's life.
It's pretty heavy stuff.
Go ahead, Cole. Unpack that.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. So we're talking about the documentary. He goes on. What this documentary is about is he climbs what is believed to be the hardest face of this mountain, and that's what that documents, and it touches on that story. But everything Chase just said was more detailed than the documentary gives, and that was him at like the start of his rock climbing career.
Yeah,
sort of.
You know, I just think that that's
he also goes on to lose a finger.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
That's kind of important when you're
That's the whole
climbing
thing
rocks.
about Tommy Caldwell. If you watch the documentary or do any research about him, he's a very calm person, but you can see it in his eyes that there's an intensity a little bit, in there. Him and Beth go on to get married, and they're building a house or doing some work on their house, and he cuts his index finger off in a table saw accident, which is, like Brian said, as a musician or a rock climber, that's probably the biggest thing you need.
Yeah.
And so everybody said, well, you're done. Well, it actually made him a better climber after that. He figured out a way to do it better. Do it. And I mean, I wish everybody read the book or watch the documentary, but
it's a life chaser story for
it
sure.
is.
The dude went through some stuff, so that happened in Kyrgyzstan, and then he cut his finger. Him and Beth ended up getting divorced, and he just threw himself into the climb.
Yeah, that's when him and Beth when he came to the realization that was over. He drove they lived not too far from the Yosemite Valley, but he rappelled off the wall of the Dawn Wall and stayed there for weeks. And that's when the Dawn Wall project started. He was heartbroken, and he threw himself into something, and the dude figured out how to climb the Dawn Wall where it had never been done. And I think that's just a great story of somebody that just kept going. I don't know, when he didn't want to.
It's a cool documentary. I'm sure that book sounds pretty fascinating.
Of course, most books have more detail than documentary, but I just thought I'd share that tonight because, I mean, that's just one story of just one person. Of course, he's one of the greatest rock climbers ever, but that's just one person that we all go through stuff, and that dude just kept going.
Yeah. Incredible story. I can't remember. Was the Dawn Wall climb in like 16, 17, something like that?
We talked about that. It was
Obama was president.
Obama was president.
Established that. So it was somewhere right there.
Yeah. And he's been good with other climbers.
Wait, 16, 17. Earlier than that.
Yeah. 12, 13.
12 or 13. Not 16.
Yeah. 16.
My gosh.
16 was like last year, right?
16 was Trump. Trump was
he?
Elected 16.
Oh, yeah. That was like 2 years ago, right?
I'm off on my years. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I've watched Alex Hommel's documentary of Free Solo, and Tommy was right there with him, trying to give him pointers to go up, El Capitan. He's a good dude, and he went through some shit. He didn't have to be a good dude after all the shit he went through, because not too many people say they got captured in a foreign country and did what they had to do.
Yeah, the documentary really doesn't spend too much time on that part, but it happens pretty quick in the documentary, and it's almost like, oh my gosh, you could probably do the whole documentary on that part.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like, well, I was like, well, no, there's more to that story than
and obviously it blew up nationally. It was on the news, so people have heard that story. So I guess that's why the documentary didn't linger.
Yeah,
but like people like me who were,
well,
I'm younger. I don't watch the news.
He got thrown in, even though they were probably very popular in the climbing community, youngsters. But after that, they were on, Today Show. They were on, definitely were on the Today Show. And I think Tommy pretty much says, we were thrown into the limelight, and we never had a chance to decompress, to unload all that trauma. And we did, we were just, our careers took off then, and
you could tell that tell that he had done a lot of interviews, and that he was just used to doing them.
And it was like after that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, you can probably, you could go down the rabbit hole of, manufactured stories and people with like, you could even go as far as like MK Ultra, like, oh yeah, this person was supposed to be but this was like, there's times where someone's groomed to be famous, and then there's times where something so crazy's happened to where you couldn't have planned it better, and they're just thrust into it.
They're thrust into it, and he's like probably one of those people that just wanted to climb the rest of his life and have a family and just be left alone and climb. And he got thrown completely into mainstream media,
Yeah.
And after that, his career took off and his life fell apart, but he triumphed. I mean, he chased life after life fell apart.
I wonder what he's doing now.
He's still out there. I follow him on social media. And like I said, Alex Honnold came along after that. He's the free solo. There's a documentary about him, free solo. Alex Honnold. Tommy climbs with a rope. Alex climbs without a rope.
I think he's who I was thinking of earlier
Alex.
On the ride over.
Yeah, well, Tommy and Alex, Tommy kind of helped Alex with some of his climbs, and even Tommy will say, this is crazy. But that's another documentary you can watch. That's an interesting dude too. If you're into climbing and outdoor documentaries, watch Free Solo and Alex Honnold. Watch Don Wall. There's so many, and there's tons of ultra marathon 100-miler documentaries on Amazon and stuff. And most of those stories have somebody that, if you get back in their backstory, they had some stuff that happened. They chased life no matter what happened. They just kept going, and that's what we're all about, right?
That's right.
Every day. I mean, get up and get it.
I got 99 problems, but chasing life ain't one.
That's right. I got 99 problems, but chasing life ain't. There's some days I don't want to get up, and every day I want to get up. There's some days I don't want to get up and do what I have to do, but you have to. Yeah. You have to keep going. Like old granddad said, just put one foot in front of the other and keep going, and it'll work it out. Make good decisions. Keep good people around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keep a good circle. Take the trash out when you need to.
Go down to Florida, shave your beard, oil up, get a tan, wear Speedo, become Monte Carlo.
Put a hammock in your living room. Buy a house.
Wear a banana hammock if you go by Monte Carlo.
Monty would love this story.
He would. He'll enjoy listening to it.
I mean,
he'll enjoy listening to us shit on him while he's not here.
Boy, he shits on me a lot. You know it.
Monty, we decided we were coming for you this time. You weren't here to defend.
He always gets me, like right off the bat. I think he's going to be nice, and then.
I mean, Chase is rocking even thicker mustache than last time.
I don't know how to trim. It's the thing. I'm at that point now where it's like, okay, I got to do some trimming, but I'm like, if I don't do it right, I'm going to screw it up. So it's just kind of just going. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
You have to name it next.
Yeah, I thought we did name it. No, maybe we didn't.
Thorny.
Oh, Thorny. Yeah,
Thorny. So if you're on Tinder and looking for a good time,
don't do that to me.
Oh, okay.
All right. So after hearing that story, we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah.
After hearing that, and there's 100 other stories, 1,000 other stories just like that, and I've been through stuff. Cole's been through some stuff, but I feel like that story is like, you don't know what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes. He was on the side of a thing, a rock wall that he loved with a person he loved, eating pudding, and then some
his little birthday pudding.
Damn jackasses came up and took him. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen, and they could have very well died there.
Yeah, they could have just killed him right then.
Killed it right there. So I think if you take away anything, you need to not wait. If you got something in your head and you want to do, and you cannot wait. I don't care if it's taking a trip. I don't care if it's sending a risky text. I don't care if making a phone call to the family member you hadn't talked to that you've been waiting.
Full send that text.
Full send it. Don't wait, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes. And you will regret if you don't live.
Take those instrument lessons.
Take them.
Send that risky text.
Take the hike.
Take that hike. Oh, we're about to take a hike.
We are. Take it, man. Don't be scared, because I'm telling you, life can just turn around so quick. Like a tornado can come through, an ice storm come through. We can go to war, or you can have a car wreck, or you can come up with cancer.
Or we could just build back better and fuck everything.
Yeah, man. Yeah, seriously. Do the things you have in your head and your heart. You have to do them, because if you don't, you're going to regret it, because life does not wait for you.
No.
You have to go for it. You have to go for it, and you have to be 100% in every time, because if you don't, it ain't going to work. I've learned that. If you're not 100% committed, it's not going to work. Do it.
Yeah, you gotta be
grow some.
You gotta be available. You have to leave yourself available to what the world, the world, the universe. Your phone can ring and it can be opportunity at any moment. You gotta be available to take the call.
Yes. But you gotta go for it, people. I'm telling you, you learned anything from that story, which I didn't tell it great, and I'm not the greatest narrator, but you have to go for it, because you could be on a ledge eating pudding, and in the next minute you be in a hostage situation. So whatever you got to say, whatever you got to do, whatever dream you got out there, just go for it, and don't give a shit what the other people that are not in your circle or not in your life, that have nothing to do with you. Don't worry about it. Just go for it, and the people who matter will support you and be there for you.
Boom.
Boom.
Life Chaser out.
Life Chaser out.
Fucking pussies. Send that text.
Fucking go for it.
And send it to Chase if you're a hot bitch.